Hi, this is Monique from Boxcar Marketing with a preview of the presentation that I do for SEO, search engine optimization. So the first thing is that search engine optimization is not just writing spammy website copy or tweaking your code for the search bots. A common myth about SEO is nicely captured in this joke. So this SEO copywriter walks into a bar, grill, pub, public house, Irish bar, bartender, drinks, beer, wine, liquor. So the myth about SEO is that it is stuffing keywords into the right places in order to increase your page rank and to show up better in Google search results. If that's your understanding, then of course that's what's going to inform your approach to search engine optimization, and yes, it will seem spammy. The tools really are only as good as the people using them. So if you act like this guy, then your stuff looks like that guy. You want to be thinking about your optimization of pages in order to help people with a buying decision. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be that really good salesperson who understands the needs and desires of the customer and helps that customer select the best option for them. Directs them as smoothly as possible through the process of research, decision-making, and purchase. So online, we do this through text and images, and this is often the first touch point that a potential customer has with our product or service. But your copy is what's really important. It's your copy that has to get people in the door, so that once they're in, then you have a chance to convince and convert them. So how do you get people in the door? Well, you need to know a little bit about search and therefore SEO. But let's come back to that definition of SEO. SEO is search engine optimization, but when we think about it that way, we think about keywords. So the better thing to do is think about SEO as content discovery optimization. This is the inbound marketing term that companies like HubSpot have coined. So I don't want to give you another acronym. Let's stick with SEO, but think about SEO instead of it being search engine optimization as being social cues, external cues, and on-page cues. If you think about it this way, you're going to have successful, valuable content that you're creating and discoverability. So when we talk about discoverability, basically computers are done. Computers need those social cues, external cues, and on-page cues because essentially they're done. They get stumped all the time by their own stupidity. It is not us as users when we search for something and it doesn't show up. That's not our fault. It's because the computer isn't smart enough to keep up with our awesomeness of being human. A couple of years ago, if you were searching for things like women's shoes, and say the Nordstrom website or the Bay website consistently called that ladies' footwear, then to a computer that was not a match, right? Computers are dumb. They need those cues, those social cues, external cues, on-page cues to understand, oh, women's shoes actually means also ladies' footwear. And that's where the semantic web comes in. And this is what search engines have gotten much better at. Right? They have a better understanding when we're talking about, say, cats and strong teeth and a healthy coat and Purina, that the page is likely relevant to a search for pet food, or probably even more relevant to a search for cat food. The semantic web describes those relationships between things. So pre-2008, what we said to search engines was kind of like this Far Side cartoon. It was like blah, 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 keyword, blah, 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 keyword, blah, 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 keyword, which is why we tend to think about SEO as being keyword optimization. But those algorithms for creating the matches have gotten much smarter, which is great because it means our job as marketers has become easier. We can write copy that is natural. The challenge is actually the advancement of search engines and their interest in making personalized results. And that's the part that starts to obscure for marketers what's actually happening, how certain things come up in results and other things don't. So smarter computers means localization. It means that the results that I see when I'm in Vancouver and searching for best restaurants are different than the results that I see when I'm searching for the same thing, but I happen to be traveling in Toronto. Now that seems like that's a smart move. That makes a lot of sense. But what happens when it's not something that is localized? What happens if I'm searching for penguin books, for example? I don't get the same results in Vancouver as I do when I'm in Toronto. There's a difference that's happening there that has become difficult for marketers to understand. Smarter computers also means personalization. It means that the results that I see when I'm logged into Google are different than the search results that I see when I'm logged out. It also means the results that I see using my desktop are different than when I'm using my smartphone. Same computer, different location, different results. So this is really the part that has become difficult for marketers. Search right now is kind of like the Sahara Desert. There's a lot of shifting sand. And of course, then unhappy SEO experts. Google is making anywhere between 500 and 600 changes to the search algorithm a year. So it becomes very difficult to understand, why does your client see one set of results and you see a different one? How come their company name doesn't show up for particular keyword terms where it used to appear before? A lot of this information is becoming more difficult to understand because the computers are getting smarter. So let's talk about how search works. Basically, search bots crawl and index the content on your site so that when someone searches for a keyword phrase like Michael Lewis books, it can scan through the indexed content and present a series of results that best match your search query. So how does it know what a best match is or high quality content? Well, basically, as computers are getting smarter, what they're doing is they're trying to mimic humans. They're trying to understand the social cues, the external cues, the on-page cues that a human would use in order to understand relevancy of content. So there are hundreds of ranking factors, probably thousands actually. And of course, it's not in the search engine's interest to have people understanding what that algorithm is, because then you have people who try to game the system. But there are SEO experts who've done a ton of research, who've looked at the data, who manage multiple sites, and there are a handful of factors that seem to come up in terms of importance. So I've grouped them here under the social cues, the external cues, and the on-page cues. So social cues, those are all the things that are related to social proof. Things like star ratings or customer reviews, images or video that is generated by customers, all the social sharing that happens around our content, plus ones of content, shares, tweets, anything that's indexable that shows freshness, relevancy, and social proof that a piece of content is valuable. The external cues are all the things that are often related to some of the technical aspects of our site. Is the website crawlable? Do we have duplicate content? Are there incoming links that are high quality links, a mix of different types of links? How fast does the web page load? Right? You can understand this because if search is trying to mimic human behavior, we try to load a website, it's really slow to load, we click the back button, we don't wait. So there's relevancy in thinking about, well, how do we improve the speed of our pages? Let's look at the bounce rate, the number of times people are coming to our content and then leaving right away because it's not resonating with them. The on-page cues, these are things like the keywords, what we use as our title tags, our meta descriptions, headings, subheadings on the page, the first 200 characters, first 200 words, bolded text, text that's the link text, anchor text, even things like our file names and internal links, all the things that are helping a human understand how to navigate our page and what the content is very quickly. Those are the same types of cues that a search engine is using. So if we look at some Google search results for French parenting book. Maybe you've heard the author on the radio, you can't remember the exact book title, but you remember it was something about French parenting. So you type that into your search and you're like, oh yes, Bringing Up Bebe, that was the title. What we're looking at now in our search results are, hey, there are the social cues, the stars, the reviews, content that's shared by a particular friend. We've got our external cues, right? These are sites that are crawlable. There's incoming links. The pages load quickly. They probably have low bounce rate. There's some type of established value to these particular links that show up first. And then we've got our on-page cues. So content that is relevant to the search phrase that I've used. You can see here in the bolded words, I've typed in as my query French parenting book, and then the listings have a series of bolded words that show me how similar or close the existing content on that page is to the term that I used. So this is the title tag and the description, or the first 200 characters of that description. So SEO is all about content discoverability, right? Here are those social cues, external cues, and on-page cues one more time. These are all factors that are within your control. If we reshuffle that list by, say, functional departments within a company, then you can get a picture of what is actually in your control as a marketer and how little keywords themselves are in terms of the overall picture of things that you can do as a marketer. So Google has announced changes that they are encrypting all search data. So a lot of the keyword data that we used to have through Google Analytics, we don't have anymore. People are frustrated by that, but really keywords is just a small part of that overall SEO picture. If we think about it as those social cues, external cues, and on-page cues, then what we're really talking about is inbound marketing and all sorts of things that are in our control. So within a marketing department, we have control over how we build credible links to our content, how we name our images. So image search is still a powerful way to think about how do people discover and find your content. If you're uploading infographics, what's the file name of that? How do you make sure that it's searchable within those image searches? What kind of outreach are we doing to encourage social sharing and distribution of that content? If we're more on a technical side, we can look at, is our website crawlable? What can we do to improve performance of the site? Look at page load speed. What are we doing to help people quickly get a sense of the content on a page? What are we doing to make that content scannable and digestible really quickly? Headings, subheadings, what kind of rich snippet code can we use so that those stars and reviews and authorship and images or video get pulled into search results? If we're on an editorial or copywriting side or responsible for content marketing, then how we write our content is important. Think about those first 200 words. Think about whether you're duplicating content or reusing stuff that's already out there. How do you write original, compelling content? Of course, think about the keywords, but think about what are the keyword phrases that people would be using to find this content. How do we make sure those keywords are in the headings, or maybe appear as bolded text, or are part of the link text, appear in image captions? How do we concentrate on writing the best possible copy so that once someone has found it, that copy is working as hard as possible to convince people to move further through that sales funnel? So another book example, if we think about the social sharing aspect and how important that is for social proof, people finding through word of mouth great content, and also how that content appears on social networks or even within search results, that first paragraph is what gets pulled into Google Plus or Facebook or whatever social networking tool we're using. So thinking about the headline of our content, that first paragraph, the image, the URL, all of that is important because these tools, that's what they're pulling. And that's the piece of content that gets bumped around and shared and spread online. So the importance of good copywriting should not be underestimated. If it's good, people repeat it. We see this all the time with Apple advertising. So flash all the way back to the iPod, right? The original iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. If you write remarkable content, people will reuse it. And that social proof and that sharing of content is really important. More important, I think, than, oh, we don't have keyword data anymore. So here's an example of that John Green title. Most ambitious and heartbreaking work. That little phrase came from the publisher copy. And it is the phrase that has spread most virally through reviews on blogs, reviews on Goodreads, and Amazon, in advertising, display advertising for the title and other marketing collateral. So now when you do a search for that phrase, Google blog search, you've got over 7,000 results that are reusing that phrase. So when you're thinking about how you position your product or your service, you want to be thinking about those keyword phrases, one, that match the type of search query people are going to make if they're looking for your stuff, but two, to think about those sound bites that could be spread virally that also help people find your content as the originator of that. So the 5 whys, reasons why you should write SEO copy. Copy that is optimized for social cues, external cues, and on-page cues. The first is because you want people to find your stuff. This is all about discoverability. So in the real world, you need to get people in the door. Number 2 is that once they're in the door, that copy needs to be the best salesperson possible. It needs to convince and convert your audience to help them make that buying decision, to get them to yes. Number 3, you want to have good content that has those shareable bits and those sound bites, especially early on in the copy, because you want to be able to teach fans how to pitch your friends, how to share it, what those sound bites are. Number 4, you don't want to disappoint people who are looking for your stuff. So you want your content to be found. If a couple is looking for a nearby restaurant, you want your restaurant to show up. If you've got a journalist looking for a subject matter expert, then you want to be positioning yourself as a reliable, credible source. If a fan is looking to pre-order a book, you want them to be able to find where that book is being sold. If a procurement manager is looking to hire a marketing agency or an engineer or an architect, then you want them to find your stuff. You don't want them to be disappointed. Number 5 is you want to win, right? So you want to stack the deck without gaming the system. So the SEO landscape is shifting. Google is the dominant player, and over the last couple of years, they're obscuring more and more of that keyword data that we used to have access to as marketers. So in 2011, we started with the Panda and Penguin updates that changed the algorithm and what type of content was seen as high quality content and shown higher up in search results. In October of 2011, Google started encrypting searches for logged in users. So for anyone who is in a technical space or a startup space, or anyone who had a lot of their audience is sort of technical-minded early adopters who would have been logged into a Google product, that keyword data started appearing as not provided. For lots of companies, that's moved to 50% of the keyword data is gone, 75% of the data is gone. And of course, now, September 23rd, 2013, Google has moved to make all searches secure, except for ad clicks. So that keyword data is basically as good as gone. We still have that data from Bing, We still have keyword data through third-party tools that are collecting that. Google recently changed the keyword planner. So lots of unhappy SEOs again with that. So our research tools as marketers to get into the space of keyword research and keyword optimization, that's certainly changed. It doesn't mean that SEO is dead. It means that keyword optimization has changed, but SEO in terms of those social cues, external cues, and on-page cues is more important than ever. If you are looking for good, credible resources on SEO and inbound marketing, if you're kind of coming at it from a geek perspective or a technical perspective, Moz.com, SearchEngineLand.com, SEObook.com, all good, credible sources. If you are a marketer, check out my Underwire newsletter, Full Support for Non-Techies. That's at boxcarmarketing.com. You can sign up in the sidebar. If you're coming at it from a writing perspective or a content marketing perspective, then I highly recommend Copyblogger. So these are good, credible sources that are going to provide you excellent tips on an ongoing basis that are always up to date. I'm Monique from Boxcar Marketing, and that's the preview of one of the many presentations that I give. So if you're looking for in-house training or guest speaker, keynote presentation, have a look at my contact details at the end of this post. Thanks very much. Bye.